How you doing, guys? For my topic this week, I'm going to talk about a Verge article. Now, Bruce Naylor covered this for his channel, kind of as well, on how Apple hasn't updated most of their lines for a very long time, and in some ways, I really agree with that as well. It seems they're waiting kind of a long time to update it. But I've also found an opposing article, and this is by Extreme Tech. Apple's stagnant product lines mostly reflect the state of the computer industry. And let's show you this right here, which is kind of interesting as well, some of which I already know about. So we're going to be talking about that. And it's, I think, due to many things. And for one, if you look at the PC market as a whole, Macs and PCs, really there's been a decline year over year in the PC desktop market. And so there's not really much as incentive for PC manufacturers to update it nearly as much because lost profits, and simply because decline in buying new desktop computers. Now it's mostly mobile, and even laptop sales have been going fairly well. Second thing is the CPU market. We're only seeing a marginal increase in performance year to year, and this is only like 5 to 8%. Mainly Intel. Now, this is due to several things: lack of competition by AMD. Simply, Intel just makes the best, fastest processors. So AMD's kind of going for the budget model laptops and desktop market. So not only that, I think they hit kind of limits technology-wise, perhaps. So that's why we're only seeing marginal performance increases. And in fact, it seems they're not going for more performance. They're actually going for more energy efficiency, which is great for laptops. Desktop market, not as much, because you normally can be plugging it into the wall too. And now looking at the GPU market, we are seeing a good amount of new models coming out. Not every year, but every year or two. So that's great for consumers now. But looking on the sub 1,000 1K price markets, this is with laptops and desktops. We're not simply seeing discrete GPUs being implemented. In fact, we're more seeing integrated graphics. And many years ago, I actually bought I believe it was a Gateway. It cost me about $700 desktop, and it didn't even have a discrete graphic card through a PCIe slot. It was actually integrated into the motherboard. And another way manufacturers can save money by just using integrated graphics. So to get more performance, I actually had to put in a separate card for gaming and other things. And we're seeing that on the laptops as well. More integrated graphics, less discrete. Some of the higher end models, obviously boutique PC for gaming, or even workstation graphics or whatever, you're going to see a lot more performance, but obviously at a much higher price point, perhaps 1,000 and above, a couple of thousand. Now, not only that, let's look at the workstation market as well. Typically, we see a much longer development cycle for workstations rather than the average consumer. That's because usually it comes after something on the consumer market comes out, then they'll base that on the consumer market, and then you have to wait longer for the workstation equivalents. In particular, the Xeon processors rather than the i7s, i5s, and i3s, and instead of the Radeon and other consumer graphic cards, you have the Quattro and FirePro. those take a lot longer to come out. So naturally you're going to see a longer release date on those type of computers. Now let's look at the 2013 Mac Pro, which I've said this many times. They decided to go with dual graphic cards, and dual graphic cards will remain relevant over a much longer period of time, even when new graphic cards come out. And give you an example, the D700s, the dual D700s graphic cards in the new Mac Pro actually have more performance than the NVIDIA Titan X that came out 2 years later. So those are some ways workstation graphics, remain relevant over a longer period of time. Now, obviously, the software has to utilize dual graphic cards to make this work, and particularly the Pro applications. So I kind of wanted to give you my take on things. Yes, the Apple line needs to be refreshed in most of its lines. I do agree with that. But I just kind of wanted to give you an alternate perspective on things. Some due to stagnant development in certain markets, such as like the CPU graphic or processors. So those are my thoughts on that. Thanks.